I read an article in the New York Post written by Miranda Devine about a New Yorker, Joseph Bolanos, who had a really chilling experience with the FBI. And as I read through it, it struck me that this is the sort of corruption of the deep state in a nutshell. And so I invited Joseph Bolanos to come on the podcast. Joe, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you doing this. And let me start by asking you to say a little bit about yourself. Where do you live? What do you do? So just so people have a little introduction to Joe Bolanos.
I was born and raised in New York. I live on the Upper West Side, and I've been in the security business for over 44 years. And I've also become a community leader in my area in that I'm the president of a landmark block association. And I've pretty much devoted 1/3 of my life to my block and to my neighborhood.
And isn't it also true that you're a bachelor and that you have a 90-plus-year-old mother, and that part of what you do is you look after your mom?
Yes, my mother is 94, and she's in the throes of dementia. Not full, but about 3/4. And back in December, I had to take her to a rehab home because she kept falling and couldn't get up. So she's been there since December. And so I do go visit her, let's say twice a week, and have lunch with her and basically take care of her and monitor her condition.
Now, on January 6th of this year, you were in Washington, D.C. for the Trump rally. Talk for a moment about, are you a Democrat, a Republican? Are you a Trumpster? Why did you go to the rally, and what did you do after the rally?
Well, actually, I had no idea that I was going to go to Washington, but a friend of mine spoke to me 4 days prior, and she told me she was going to Washington to do some sightseeing. She lives in Sonoma. So she's a dear friend. So I said, great, I'll join you. And I made a reservation for that Wednesday morning to go to Washington. And we knew that there was going to be the certification of the electoral votes. So that was kind of a double reason for being there. But I had no idea there was going to be a rally. I've never attended a rally. I'm really an independent, but I'm a registered Democrat only because in New York, you're not allowed to vote in primaries if you're an independent. So talk about voter suppression. They don't let you vote, so you have to be the Republican or Democrat. But anyway, getting back, I got there about 10:45, and I started walking toward the Washington Monument. And I have to tell you that I was a volunteer at 9/11. After 9/11 with the Red Cross. And since then, some of the side effects that I had was I can't be around crowds. I really feel very uncomfortable. I've walked out of concerts. I just can't do it. And this was the first time in Washington where I was walking with a partial crowd to a huge crowd at the Washington Monument. And instead of being anxious and kind of a little shaky, I just felt so relaxed because the people were they were, heartland people, what they call flyover people, are my kind of people because, in the East Coast, they say that, they send their kids to Ivy League schools. The heartland sends their sons and daughters to war. So these are the people that I really love and I care for. And they were so nice. Anyway, I digress. So I shot some footage. I was shooting with a 13-foot pole, some 360 video. President Trump was still talking, and he wasn't really... I didn't see him, but he wasn't animated like he is at rallies. It was just basically not really high tone or high energy. So it was very cold. And so I said, I shot enough footage. So I started walking toward Constitution. I texted my friend who was in the crowd and I said, I'll meet you at the hotel. She said, fine. While at Constitution, I took some more video, and that was about 12:47. Okay, so at 12:47, I took the thousands of people walking. Then I headed toward the JW Marriott where I was meeting my friend. And I got there between 1:05 and 1:10. We went upstairs. She was with her girlfriend. We warmed up. We were eating organic chips. And I photographed. The chips were so good that I photographed them. So there's a timestamp for that. And then we were there till 2:05. We went down in the elevator, took another picture, and we headed toward the Capitol. Now, what the interesting part of this is that we were walking with a crowd. There were no unruly people. There was no civil disobedience, violence, what have you. As we approached the other side of the Capitol, not where the breach had taken place. There were no police cars. There were no barriers. There were 2 barriers on the grounds. There were no signage, no JTTF. No, there was no authority. So basically, I kept shooting as I was walking. We were walking onto the grounds, and we didn't know we were on the grounds because the Capitol was still, a few hundred yards away. So, and there happened to be a couple of porta potties. So I'm thinking, this is an event. This is a crowd event, and it was a real, very surreal feeling because there was also a platform, which later they were saying was going to be the inauguration platform. There were a bunch of people up there, and I thought that there was going to be a speaker. Somebody was going to say something, and all of a sudden they unfurled this huge, it had to be 70-foot American flag. I get goosebumps thinking about it, and everybody went wild. And
Joe, let me jump in here for a minute, though, because I want to ask you this simple question. Did you or did you not enter the Capitol?
Not at all.
You went back to your hotel. You have proof of it. You have timestamps from the video you took. Let's fast forward a little bit, because you then go back to New York, and you are, as I understand it, with your mother, and you have not only an FBI raid of your apartment, but an FBI raid of your mother's apartment. Let's fast forward a little bit and talk about that. What happened there?
Well, I was staying at my mother's because my mother is still in rehab. She's in a rehab home facility. So I was spending time there trying to clean up for her because I wanted to make it wheelchair access. They had visited me at her house on February 4th, Thursday, 4 agents. They asked me if I was Antifa, blah, blah, blah. I said no. I gave them a copy of the videos I had shot. So I said, okay, fine. Everything is fine. A week later at 6 a.m. in the morning, I'm sleeping on the couch at my mother's place, and there's banging. Open the door, FBI, FBI. So I get up. I'm half asleep. I open the door, and there are like these 8 to 10 tactically dressed, I guess, soldiers with JTTF on them. One of them was pointing an automatic rifle at me. Automatic, like an assault weapon, about 5 feet away. He was, I guess that's procedure for them, but you don't wake up, you open a door and you have soldiers at your door with a thing aimed at you, a rifle. So they took me down and they basically put me in a car. They handcuffed me when I went out of the apartment. They asked me to step out. They handcuffed me, gave me some clothes. We went down to the car where they interviewed me for about 4 hours.
When we come back, I'm going to go into a little more in depth about why the FBI came to your apartment and what the aftermath of their raid was.